Alright, let's talk about something that's quietly taken over our lives. It's more widespread than Starbucks and arguably more addictive. I'm talking about artificial intelligence. AI. It sounds like a sci-fi movie title, doesn't it? Something you'd see on a poster with a menacing robot and a terrified Will Smith. But the truth is, AI isn't some distant future threat. It's here, right now. It's in your pocket, it's in your car, it's watching you pick out bananas at the grocery store. It has silently, and very successfully, invaded almost every corner of our existence. You probably didn't even notice it happening. It was a slow, subtle creep, like that one relative who comes for a weekend and is still using your good towels 6 months later. Think about your day so far. Did you ask your phone for the weather? That was AI. Did you scroll through a social media feed that seemed to know exactly what funny cat video you needed to see? AI again. Did you get a notification from your bank about a suspicious charge, which was thankfully just your late-night decision to buy a life-sized cardboard cutout of Danny DeVito? You can thank an AI for flagging that. From the moment your smart alarm wakes you up to the time a streaming service recommends a show you might like, you are swimming in an ocean of algorithms. You are the star of a show that's being directed, produced, and even written by a bunch of code. This wasn't a hostile takeover with laser beams and killer drones, not yet anyway. It was a takeover by convenience. We were offered a slightly easier life and we said, yes, please. We let these systems into our homes and our lives because they promise to make things better, faster, and more efficient. Who wouldn't want that? It's like being offered a personal assistant who works for free, never sleeps, and doesn't judge you for eating cereal for dinner. We willingly handed over the keys to the kingdom, one app download at a time. We let it organize our photos, manage our calendars, and even finish our sentences. It was a trade-off we made without ever really reading the terms and conditions, and that's the crux of it. This isn't just about cool gadgets and helpful apps. This is about a fundamental shift in how our world operates. A shift so massive and so fast that most of us haven't had a moment to step back and ask the big questions. Questions like, who is building this stuff? What are their goals? And is it really a good idea to let a toaster have access to my Wi-Fi password? The invasion is complete. AI is no longer at the gates. It's sitting on the couch, using your Netflix account, and subtly judging your viewing history. And now that it's here, we desperately need to understand what it is, what it wants, and what it means for all of us. Now let's be fair. The sales pitch for AI and automation was, and still is, incredibly compelling. It's a brochure filled with smiling, happy people living in a world of effortless perfection. The promise was a utopia powered by silicon. They told us AI would cure diseases, solve climate change, and finally figure out why printers only stop working when you have a critical deadline. We were promised a future where tedious, back-breaking work would be a thing of the past. Humans would be freed from the drudgery of the assembly line and the monotony of data entry. We'd have more time for art, for philosophy, for family, for finally learning how to play the ukulele. It was a beautiful, inspiring vision. And in many ways, some of that promise has been delivered. Look at medicine. AI is helping doctors detect cancers earlier and more accurately than the human eye ever could. It's accelerating the discovery of new drugs that could save millions of lives. That is genuinely incredible. In transportation, automation is paving the way for self-driving cars that could dramatically reduce accidents caused by human error, which, let's be honest, accounts for most accidents, especially if you've ever driven in Boston. AI helps manage our power grids more efficiently, reducing waste and saving energy. It even helps farmers grow more food with fewer resources. These are not small things, these are world-changing innovations. The benefits are all around us, often in ways we don't even notice. When you order a package online and it arrives at your door the next day, that's a miracle of automated logistics. A symphony of robots, sorting algorithms, and route planning software working in perfect harmony. When you use a translation app to order a coffee in a foreign country without accidentally asking for a live hamster, that's the magic of AI at your fingertips. These technologies have streamlined industries, boosted productivity, and created possibilities that were once the stuff of science fiction. The promise was that technology would be our great liberator, a tool to unlock human potential on an unprecedented scale. So yes, the people who sold us on this future weren't entirely lying. The potential for good is immense. The shiny brochure wasn't a complete work of fiction. It was more like a real estate listing that shows you pictures of the beautiful sunny living room, but conveniently forgets to mention the leaky basement, the haunted attic, and the family of raccoons living in the walls. They showed us the dream, the glossy, airbrushed version of the future. but they left out some crucial details. The details in the fine print. The parts that don't just talk about what we stand to gain, but also what we stand to lose. And that right there is where our story really begins. So, about that fine print. The part of the contract that's written in a font so small you need an electron microscope and a team of cryptographers to decipher it. This is where the shiny promise of an AI-powered utopia starts to look a little less shiny. Because for every amazing medical breakthrough, there's a troubling question about what happens to the people whose jobs are suddenly obsolete. For every story of incredible efficiency, there's another story about workers being pushed to their breaking point by algorithmic managers who track their every move. It turns out that when you automate everything, you don't just automate tasks, you automate decisions. And sometimes, you automate away people. The most obvious and immediate storm cloud on the horizon is jobs, and not just the ones we expected. We all knew that robots would eventually take over factory jobs, but nobody thought they'd be coming for the white-collar jobs too. We're talking about accountants, paralegals, journalists, and even graphic designers. AI is getting shockingly good at tasks that we once thought required a human brain and a university degree. This isn't about a few people needing to find new work. It's about a fundamental restructuring of our entire economy. What happens when millions of people's skills become worthless overnight? That's not a storm cloud, that's a Category 5 hurricane heading straight for the global workforce. Then there's the issue of surveillance. It's a word we hear a lot, but we've become numb to it. We need to stop being numb. The same technologies that recommend movies to you are also being used to monitor citizens on a scale that would make George Orwell blush. Facial recognition is being deployed in public spaces. Companies are using AI to monitor their employees' keystrokes, emails, and even their tone of voice on calls. We are trading our privacy for convenience at an alarming rate, creating a world where every action, every preference, and every mistake can be logged, analyzed, and stored forever. We are building a digital panopticon, and we're doing it with a smile, because it also gives us free shipping. And this leads to the biggest, darkest cloud of all inequality. This technological revolution isn't lifting all boats. It's lifting a few very, very expensive yachts while a lot of other people are left treading water, or worse, sinking. The wealth and power generated by AI and automation are being concentrated in the hands of a tiny number of tech companies and their investors. This creates a dangerous imbalance. We are heading towards a future with a small, ultra-wealthy class of people who own and control the technology, and a vast majority of people who are either managed by it or made redundant by it. This isn't just an economic problem. It's a societal one. It's a recipe for instability, resentment, and a world that feels fundamentally unfair. Look, it's easy to hear all this and think it's a problem for someone else, a problem for economists in ivory towers or politicians in Washington. You might think, I'm not a truck driver or a factory worker, so what does this have to do with me? Well, here's the thing, everything. This isn't just a story about technology. This is a story about power. It's about who gets to make the rules for our future. It's about what kind of society we want to live in. The choices we make about AI and automation today will define the world for our children and our grandchildren. This is not a drill. This is the main event. This story is deeply personal because it touches the very core of what it means to be human. What is the value of human labor in an age of intelligent machines? What is the meaning of privacy in a world of constant surveillance? What does community look like when our interactions are mediated by algorithms designed to maximize engagement, not human connection? These are not abstract philosophical questions. They have real-world consequences. They affect our mental health, our financial security, our relationships, and our ability to participate in a democracy. This is about our dignity, our autonomy, and our future. We need to give this issue a human face, because it's easy to get lost in the jargon of neural networks and machine learning. But behind every data point is a person. Behind every displaced worker is a family struggling to pay the bills. Behind every biased algorithm is a real person being denied a loan, a job, or even parole because of a flawed system they don't understand and can't appeal. We need to hear their stories. We need to understand the emotional toll, the anxiety, and the sense of powerlessness that comes with living in a world that is being redesigned without your consent. This isn't about code, it's about people. So, why should you pay attention? You should pay attention because you are a character in this story, whether you like it or not. The plot is unfolding right now, all around you. And the ending hasn't been written yet. We are standing at a critical juncture in human history. We can either be passive spectators, letting a handful of tech billionaires write the next chapter for us, or we can grab a pen and start writing it ourselves. We need to be informed, we need to be critical, and we need to be engaged. Because the dark truth of AI and automation isn't just about the technology itself, it's about what we choose to do with it. And that choice belongs to all of us. Alright, let's start with the place we all picture when we think of automation, the factory. For decades, this has been the classic image. Big, clunky robotic arms doing one simple, repetitive task over and over again. Welding a car door, stamping a piece of metal. It was impressive, sure, but it was also a bit dumb. Those robots were the strong, silent type. They did their one job and that was it. But now, that's all changing. The robots are getting a promotion. They're no longer just the muscle, they're becoming the brains of the operation. Welcome to the world of the smart factory, which honestly sounds like a place where calculators go to summer camp, but is actually a revolution in how we make things. Today's factories are less like the clanging, chaotic places of the past and more like a perfectly choreographed ballet. A symphony of sensors, data, and intelligent machines all working in concert. These new robots, powered by AI, can see, learn, and adapt. They can pick up a delicate electronic component without crushing it, or inspect a finished product for microscopic flaws that a human eye would miss entirely. They work around the clock, they don't need coffee breaks, and they never call in sick to go to a music festival. This level of efficiency is staggering. It means we can produce goods faster, cheaper, and with a level of quality and precision that was previously unimaginable. It's a manufacturer's dream come true. Think about what this means for the products you buy. The smartphone in your pocket, the car you drive, even the sneakers on your feet are likely assembled with the help of this advanced automation. This precision allows for more complex and intricate designs. It allows companies to create customized products on a mass scale, something that used to be a complete contradiction. Want a car with a very specific interior trim and a personalized message engraved on the dashboard? An AI-driven factory can reconfigure its assembly line on the fly to make that happen. This isn't just about making the same old stuff more efficiently, it's about enabling a new era of manufacturing and design. And here's the sunny side of that story. This hyper-efficiency can also be good for the planet. Smart factories are designed to minimize waste. AI systems can analyze the entire production process and find tiny inefficiencies, saving massive amounts of energy, water, and raw materials over time. They can predict when a machine is about to break down, allowing for maintenance before it happens, which prevents costly shutdowns and wasted resources. So, the promise here is a world where we can have the things we need, made better and more sustainably. It's a compelling vision. A world of perfect products rolling off a silent, intelligent assembly line. What could possibly go wrong with that? We'll get there. Oh, we'll get there. Now let's move from the factory floor to a place that's a lot more personal, the doctor's office. For most of human history, medicine has been an art as much as a science. It relied on a doctor's training, their experience, and sometimes just their intuition. But that is changing, and changing fast. AI is entering the world of healthcare, not as a cold, unfeeling replacement for your doctor, but as a powerful new tool. A kind of medical sidekick with a supercomputer for a brain. And frankly, its potential to do good is astonishing. This isn't about replacing Dr. Welby with a talking iPad, it's about giving Dr. Welby superpowers. One of the most incredible applications is in medical imaging. Think about radiologists. They spend their days staring at X-rays, Connecticut scans, and MRIs, looking for tiny, almost invisible signs of disease. It's an incredibly difficult and high-stakes job. Now imagine an AI trained on millions of those scans. It can spot patterns and anomalies that the human eye might miss, not because it's smarter, but because it has a perfect, encyclopedic memory of every scan it has ever seen. Studies have shown AI models detecting certain types of cancer in medical images with higher accuracy, and at an earlier stage than human experts. That's not a small improvement. That's the difference between life and death. The revolution doesn't stop at diagnostics. AI is also transforming the search for new medicines. Developing a new drug is a ridiculously long and expensive process. It can take over a decade and cost billions of dollars. Scientists have to test thousands of molecular compounds to find one that might work. AI can accelerate this process dramatically. It can analyze vast biological databases and predict which compounds are most likely to be effective against a specific disease, saving researchers years of trial and error. This could lead to faster breakthroughs for everything from Alzheimer's to rare genetic disorders. It's like having a million researchers working around the clock, and it's even helping on a more personal level. AI-powered tools can help doctors create highly personalized treatment plans for their patients. By analyzing a patient's genetic makeup, lifestyle, and medical history, an algorithm can suggest the most effective course of action, tailored specifically to that individual. This is the dawn of what they call precision medicine. Instead of a one-size-fits-all approach, your treatment could be as unique as your fingerprint. The promise is a future with fewer side effects, better outcomes, and a healthcare system that treats you, the individual, not just your symptoms. It's a genuinely hopeful vision of technology working to make us all healthier. Okay, so AI is building our cars and helping to cure our diseases. But what about the most basic human need of all? Food. You probably don't picture a supercomputer when you look at a head of lettuce. But the truth is, agriculture is undergoing a quiet technological revolution. Farming has always been a gamble, a constant battle against weather, pests, and unpredictable soil. But AI and automation are giving farmers a new set of tools to tip the odds in their favor. They are turning the art of farming into a precise science, and it's happening from the soil all the way to the supermarket shelf. This is the story of the algorithmic harvest. Imagine a farm where drones fly overhead, not for surveillance but for crop health. They are equipped with special cameras that can see light beyond the visible spectrum, allowing them to spot signs of disease or dehydration in plants long before a human farmer would notice anything is wrong. The AI analyzes this data in real time and creates a health map of the entire field. It can then dispatch automated tractors or robotic sprayers to deliver the exact amount of water, fertilizer, or pesticide needed, but only to the specific plants that need it. This isn't just a little more efficient, it's a game changer. It means higher yields with a fraction of the chemicals and water. The intelligence goes right down to the ground level. Sensors planted in the soil monitor moisture and nutrient levels, feeding a constant stream of data to a central AI. This system can tell a farmer exactly when to plant, when to water, and when to harvest for maximum yield and quality. In some high-tech vertical farms, which are basically skyscrapers for vegetables, AI controls everything: the light, the temperature, the humidity. This allows for food to be grown year-round, in any climate, right in the middle of a city, dramatically reducing the distance from farm to fork. It promises fresher food, a smaller carbon footprint, and greater food security for urban populations. And the system doesn't stop once the food leaves the farm. AI is also optimizing the entire food supply chain. It predicts consumer demand to reduce food waste in grocery stores. It plots the most efficient delivery routes for trucks to save fuel. It monitors temperature-controlled shipping containers to ensure food arrives fresh and safe to eat. All of this works together to create a food system that is more productive, more sustainable, and more resilient. The promise is a world where we can feed a growing global population without destroying the planet in the process. It's a beautiful, logical, and incredibly efficient system. A perfect system. And perfect systems never have any downsides, right? So far we've talked about AI doing logical, data-driven tasks, building cars, reading scans, farming fields. These are things we associate with machines. But what about the things we thought were uniquely human? What about creativity? What about art? Surely a computer can't write a poem or paint a masterpiece or compose a symphony. Well, you might want to sit down for this, because AI is not only getting creative, it's getting good at it. It's moving out of the science lab and into the art studio, and the results are both fascinating and, let's be honest, a little bit unsettling. Let's start with visual art. You've probably seen it online. AI image generators that can create breathtaking photorealistic images from a simple text prompt. You can type "an astronaut riding a horse on Mars" in the style of Vincent van Gogh, and a few seconds later you get exactly that. It's incredible. These tools are being used by graphic designers to quickly brainstorm ideas, by filmmakers to create storyboards, and by hobbyists to create art they could never have made on their own. The technology is democratizing visual creation, giving anyone the power to bring their imagination to life. It's a new paintbrush, a new canvas for a new age. Then there's music. AI composers can analyze thousands of pieces of music from Bach to the Beatles and learn the rules of melody, harmony, and rhythm. They can then generate entirely new compositions in any style you can imagine. Some of this music is already being used as background scores for videos and video games. It's not just mimicking either. AI is also being used as a collaborative tool for human musicians. A songwriter could use an AI to generate a new chord progression to break through writer's block, or a producer could use it to create a unique drum beat. It's a new bandmate that never argues about creative differences. And yes, it can even write. AI models are now capable of writing poetry, short stories, marketing copy, and even news articles. While they may not have written the next great American novel just yet, they are getting remarkably fluent. They can adopt different tones and styles, from a Shakespearean sonnet to a corporate press release. For writers, this technology presents a strange new world. It could be an invaluable assistant, helping to summarize research or draft an email. It could be a source of inspiration, or it could be a source of profound existential dread. The line between a tool that helps us be creative and a tool that is creative for us is getting blurrier by the day. Let's talk about something many of us do every single day: driving. It's a task that requires constant attention, quick reflexes, and the patience of a saint, especially when you're stuck behind someone who thinks a turn signal is just a friendly suggestion. For years, the dream of the self-driving car has been just that, a dream, a staple of science fiction. But now, that dream is inching its way into reality. The journey towards fully autonomous vehicles is one of the most visible and heavily funded frontiers of AI research, and it promises to fundamentally reshape our cities, our economy, and our lives. The pitch is incredibly seductive. Imagine a world with no traffic jams, a world where cars communicate with each other to optimize the flow of traffic, gliding through intersections without ever needing to stop. Imagine getting into your car, telling it where to go, and then spending your commute reading, working, or just taking a nap. But the biggest promise of all is safety. Over 90% of car accidents are caused by human error. People get tired, they get distracted, they make bad decisions. An autonomous car doesn't. It has a 360-degree view of the world, it never gets road rage, and it never ever texts while driving. The potential to save tens of thousands of lives every year is enormous. The technology that makes this possible is a mind-boggling combination of sensors, cameras, radar, and a powerful AI brain. The car is constantly building a detailed, real-time, three-dimensional map of its environment. It has to identify pedestrians, cyclists, other cars, and that plastic bag blowing across the road that looks suspiciously like a small animal. It then has to predict what all of those things are going to do next and plot a safe course. It's an incredibly complex task, one that requires the AI to make thousands of critical decisions every single second. It's not just about staying in a lane, it's about understanding and navigating the chaotic, unpredictable world of human behavior. And this isn't just about personal cars. The impact of automation on logistics and public transport could be even bigger. Think of self-driving trucks moving goods across the country, 24/7, without stopping. This could make shipping faster and cheaper than ever before. Or imagine fleets of autonomous buses and shuttles providing on-demand public transportation, making it easier and more affordable for people to get around without owning a car at all. This could reduce congestion, free up valuable city space currently used for parking, and make our urban environments cleaner and more livable. The road ahead is long and full of challenges, but the destination they're selling us is a safer, cleaner, and more efficient world. Finally, let's talk about the AI you don't see. The quiet, invisible systems that are working behind the scenes, making decisions that affect your life in countless ways. This is the automation that doesn't come in the form of a shiny robot or a futuristic car. It's the code that manages the complex systems of our modern world. It's the unseen architect, constantly tweaking, optimizing, and organizing the flow of information, money, and goods. And while it may not be as dramatic as a self-driving car, its impact is arguably even more profound, because it is everywhere. Think about the world of finance. Every time you swipe your credit card, an AI algorithm analyzes the transaction in a fraction of a second to determine if it's fraudulent. The stock market is now dominated by high-frequency trading algorithms that execute millions of trades faster than a human could even blink. These systems manage risk, allocate capital, and essentially dictate the flow of trillions of dollars around the global economy every single day. They are the new masters of the universe, and they are made of pure data. We have handed over the keys to our economic infrastructure to these automated systems in the name of speed and efficiency. This optimization extends to the very cities we live in. AI is being used to manage traffic light patterns to reduce congestion. It helps utility companies predict energy demand and manage the power grid to prevent blackouts. It even helps sanitation departments plan the most efficient routes for garbage collection. These small, invisible improvements add up. They make our cities run more smoothly, save taxpayer money, and reduce our environmental impact. It's the boring, unglamorous side of AI, but it's essential. It's the plumbing and wiring of our 21st century society, quietly making everything work just a little bit better. And of course, there's the world of online commerce and entertainment. The recommendation engine that suggests your next purchase, your next movie, or your next song is a hugely powerful form of AI. These systems are designed for one purpose: to understand your personal tastes better than you understand them yourself, and to keep you engaged. They shape our culture, they create trends, and they have a massive influence on what we buy, watch, and listen to. This is the positive spin, a world perfectly tailored to your individual preferences. A world where everything is streamlined, optimized, and personalized just for you. It's a vision of a frictionless world, a utopia of pure convenience. And that, right there, is the perfect setup for the other shoe to drop. Alright, let's stop admiring the shiny brochure for a moment and talk about the giant, elephant-sized asterisk at the bottom of the page. Jobs. Because for every story about a hyper-efficient smart factory, there's a less exciting story about the people who used to work in the regular, dumber factory. The promise of automation has always been that it will free humans from dull, dirty, and dangerous work. And that sounds great. Who wants a dull, dirty, or dangerous job? The problem is, a lot of those jobs also happen to be jobs that pay the bills. The dark truth is that when you design a system for maximum efficiency, human beings often start to look like the least efficient part of the equation. We're not just talking about a few factory workers anymore. That was the first wave. The new wave is coming for everyone. AI is now capable of doing tasks that we once thought were safe, the kinds of jobs that required a college degree and a decent pantsuit. It can write legal documents, analyze financial reports, create marketing campaigns, and even write computer code. Think about that. We are building AIs that are good at writing the very code that AIs are made of. That's like a turkey inventing Thanksgiving. This isn't a slow and steady change. It's a potential tsunami that could wipe out entire professions, leaving millions of people wondering what their skills are worth in this brave new world. The classic argument from tech boosters is, don't worry, new jobs will be created. And yes, that's true. We will need people to design, maintain, and manage these AI systems. We'll need AI ethicists and robot trainers. But here's the billion-dollar question. Will there be enough of these new jobs to replace the millions that are lost? And will the people who used to drive trucks or answer customer service calls have the skills or the opportunity to get those new jobs? History shows that technological revolutions create new work, but it also shows they can leave a lot of people behind for a very long time. It's not much comfort to a laid-off truck driver to be told that their great-grandchild might have a cool job as a drone fleet choreographer. This isn't some far-off, hypothetical future. It's happening right now. Customer service departments are being replaced by chatbots. Supermarkets are pushing self-checkout lanes, eliminating cashiers. News organizations are using AI to write routine financial reports and sports summaries. Each of these changes, on its own, seems small. It's just one company trying to cut costs and improve efficiency. But when you add them all up, you see the beginning of a massive societal shift. A shift where the value of human labor is being systematically devalued. We are engineering people out of the system, not with a bang, but with 1,000 quiet, cost-effective software updates. So, what if you're lucky enough to keep your job in this new automated world? Well, congratulations. But you might find that your new boss is less of a person and more of an algorithm. Welcome to the world of algorithmic management. It's a system where AI software monitors workers, assigns tasks, sets the pace of work, and even makes decisions about hiring, firing, and promotions. It's happening in Amazon warehouses for Uber drivers in call centers, and increasingly in professional office jobs. Your new manager doesn't have an office, doesn't take you out for a birthday lunch, and sees you as nothing more than a data point on a dashboard. It's a micromanaging boss with godlike omniscience and zero empathy. For workers in this system, the pressure is relentless. In warehouses, AI tracks every second of a worker's time, calculating their time off task. Take too long walking to the bathroom? The system logs it. Stop to catch your breath? You're falling behind the algorithmically set pace. For delivery drivers, the app is the boss. It dictates their route, monitors their speed, and logs customer ratings that can get them deactivated with no human recourse. This isn't just about efficiency, it's about control. It's about squeezing every last drop of productivity out of a human being, treating them less like an employee and more like a component in a machine, one that can be optimized or replaced if its performance dips. The complete lack of transparency is one of the most dehumanizing parts of this. you can be penalized or even fired by a system you don't understand. If an algorithm flags you for poor performance, who do you appeal to? How do you explain that you were delayed by a road closure, or that you had to help an elderly customer? You can't reason with a spreadsheet. There's no HR department for the algorithm. This creates a profound sense of powerlessness. Workers are subject to the cold, hard logic of a system that is designed to see only numbers, not the messy, complicated reality of human life. It's a recipe for burnout, anxiety, and a workforce that feels completely disposable. And don't think this is just for blue-collar jobs. The same logic is creeping into the office. Software now monitors employee keystrokes, analyzes the sentiment of their emails, and even tracks how much time they spend in which applications. This data is used to create productivity scores that can influence promotions and bonuses. The goal is to create a totally optimized, totally quantifiable employee. But this relentless surveillance destroys trust, kills creativity, and turns the workplace into a digital sweatshop. The promise of AI was to free us from drudgery, but for many, it's just creating a new, more efficient and more soul-crushing form of it. Now let's zoom out and look at the big picture. What happens to a society when all this wealth and productivity generated by AI and automation flows in only one direction? Straight up. We are currently witnessing the greatest concentration of wealth in human history, and this technological revolution is pouring gasoline on that fire. A tiny handful of tech companies and their investors are reaping astronomical rewards. They own the code, they own the platforms, they own the data. Meanwhile, everyone else is either working for the algorithm or being replaced by it. This isn't just creating a wealth gap, it's creating a wealth chasm. A new gilded age is dawning, and it makes the first one look like a quaint little tea party. Think about it this way. In the past, when a company became more productive, the gains were often shared, at least to some extent. Workers might get higher wages or more people would be hired. But with AI, a company can massively increase its output and its profits without hiring anyone else. In fact, it can often do so while people. A single successful algorithm can generate billions of dollars in value. And that value is captured by the owners and a small number of elite engineers. This breaks the traditional link between productivity and widespread prosperity. The economic pie is getting bigger, but only a few people are getting a slice. Everyone else is just being handed the bill for the party. This widening inequality isn't just an economic problem, it's a societal poison. It erodes social cohesion and creates deep-seated resentment. When a huge portion of the population feels like the system is rigged against them, that they are being left behind while a few people live in an entirely different reality, democracy itself starts to fray. We get political instability, social unrest, and a loss of faith in our institutions. A society where a few billionaires are trying to colonize Mars while millions of people can't afford rent or healthcare is not a healthy or stable society. It's a powder keg waiting for a spark, and AI is the one busy building the keg, filling it up, and handing out matches. The scary part is that this trend is self-perpetuating. The more wealth these tech giants accumulate, the more power they have to influence politicians and write the rules in their own favor. They can lobby for deregulation, weaker labor protections, and lower taxes, all of which accelerate the cycle of inequality. We are creating a new techno-aristocracy, a class of rulers whose power is based not on land or title, but on the ownership of data and algorithms. This isn't the future we were promised. The dream was that technology would lift all boats. The reality is that it's building a few dozen super yachts and leaving everyone else to figure out how to swim. Alright, let's talk about privacy. Or rather, the fond, distant memory of it. We have been told a very seductive lie for the past decade. The lie that the best things in life are free. Free social media, free search engines, free email, free navigation apps. It's amazing. But we've all heard the saying, if you're not paying for the product, you are the product. And honestly, that has never been more true. The price of all these free services is your personal data. Every click, every search, every like, every location you visit, every message you send is being collected, cataloged, and analyzed by AI systems. We have willingly placed a surveillance device in our own pockets, and we call it a smartphone. This isn't just about seeing ads for a pair of shoes you looked at once. That's like the kindergarten version of this problem. The data being collected about you is used to build an incredibly detailed digital profile, a virtual you. This profile knows your political leanings, your personality type, your hopes, your fears, your insecurities, and yeah, even your secret love for Nickelback. It probably knows you better than your own mother does. This profile is then used not just to sell you things, but to influence your behavior. to shape your opinions, and to predict your next move. We are the rats in a massive digital experiment, and the AI is the scientist, constantly running tests to see what makes us tick. This constant, pervasive surveillance has a chilling effect on society. When we know we are being watched, we start to censor ourselves. We become less likely to explore controversial ideas, to speak out against power, or to associate with people who might be deemed undesirable by an algorithm. It subtly pushes us towards conformity and discourages dissent. This is disastrous for a functioning democracy, which relies on the free exchange of ideas, even the unpopular ones. We are building a digital panopticon, a prison where the walls are invisible and the guards are algorithms, and we are all becoming our own jailers, policing our own thoughts and behaviors for fear of how they will be logged and judged. And the stakes are getting higher. This same surveillance technology is being adopted by governments and law enforcement around the world. Facial recognition cameras are becoming common in public spaces. AI is used to create threat scores for individuals based on their online activity and social connections. We are trading our freedom for a false sense of security, creating a society where you can be deemed a suspect without ever having committed a crime. The infrastructure of a truly totalitarian state is being built, not by a shadowy government agency in a secret bunker, but out in the open by the friendly tech companies who just want to help you share photos of your cat. Here's a fun fact about AI, it's really stupid. Oh, it's fast, and it can process more data than any human ever could. But it has no common sense, no understanding of the world, and no sense of fairness or justice. An AI learns about the world from the data we feed it. And what does that data contain? It contains all of humanity's existing biases, prejudices, and blind spots. So, when we train an AI on data from our flawed world, we don't end up with a perfectly objective, rational decision maker. We end up with a machine that is very good at automating our own discrimination. It's a high-tech mirror that reflects back our ugliest traits. We are already seeing the disastrous consequences of this. AI systems used for hiring have been found to discriminate against women because they were trained on historical data where men held most of the top positions. Facial recognition systems are notoriously less accurate for women and people of color, leading to false arrests. AI tools used by judges to predict the likelihood of a defendant reoffending have been shown to be biased against black defendants, recommending harsher sentences for them than for white defendants who committed similar crimes. We are outsourcing our decisions to systems that we pretend are neutral, but are in reality just laundering our own biases through a black box of code. The real danger here is what I call the veneer of objectivity. When a human makes a biased decision, we can call it out. We can argue with them, we can appeal, we can point to their prejudice. But when an algorithm makes a biased decision, it's presented as an impartial, data-driven conclusion. How do you argue with math? The system hides the bias behind a shield of technical complexity. A person denied a loan or a job is simply told the computer said no. They have no way of knowing that the computer said no because it was trained on decades of discriminatory lending practices. It creates a new, insidious form of systemic discrimination that is harder to see, harder to challenge, and harder to fix. This isn't a simple technical glitch that can be fixed with a quick patch, it's a fundamental problem. As long as our society has inequality and injustice, the data we produce will reflect that. And any AI trained on that data is at risk of learning and amplifying those same problems. We are rushing to embed these biased systems into the most critical parts of our society: hiring, criminal justice, healthcare, finance, without stopping to think about the consequences. We are building a future where discrimination isn't just a regrettable human failing, it's an automated, efficient, and scalable feature of the system itself. Okay, there's one last, more subtle danger I want to talk about. It's not as dramatic as mass unemployment or a surveillance state, but it might be just as important in the long run. It's the slow erosion of human skill and judgment. What happens to us when we start outsourcing our thinking to machines? What happens when we rely on GPS to navigate so much that we forget how to read a map or learn the layout of our own city? What happens when we let an AI draft all our emails and reports and our own writing skills begin to atrophy? We are becoming increasingly dependent on these systems, and in the process, we risk losing some of the very skills that make us capable and resilient human beings. Think about pilots. Modern airliners are incredibly automated. For most of a flight, the pilots are simply monitoring the systems as the autopilot flies the plane. This has made flying incredibly safe. but aviation experts worry about skill fade. When something unexpected happens and the autopilot disengages, do the pilots still have the sharp practice skills to take control and handle the crisis? The more we rely on automation to do the work, the less practice we get at doing it ourselves. We are becoming excellent monitors of systems, but we are losing the hands-on expertise, the feel for the job, that can be so critical when things go wrong. This isn't just about pilots or other highly specialized professions, it's about all of us. When we rely on a recommendation engine to tell us what music to listen to or what book to read, we lose the skill of discovery, the joy of stumbling upon something new and unexpected on our own. When we let AI summarize the news for us, we risk losing the ability to critically read and analyze information for ourselves. We are trading active engagement with the world for passive consumption. We are letting algorithms curate our reality, and in doing so we risk becoming less curious, less critical, and less engaged citizens. Our world becomes smaller, more predictable, and less interesting. The great irony is that we built these amazing tools to augment human intelligence, to make us smarter and more capable. But there's a real danger that over-reliance on them could have the opposite effect. It could make us intellectually lazy. It could dull our problem-solving abilities and our intuitive judgment. As we hand over more and more of our cognitive tasks to AI, we need to ask ourselves what we are losing in the trade. Is the convenience worth the potential cost to our own abilities? We are in danger of becoming the pampered, infantilized humans from the movie Wall-E, floating around on chairs, letting machines do everything for us, until we forget how to do anything for ourselves. Alright, let's move away from the abstract and meet some real people. Because this isn't just about code and corporations, it's about flesh and blood. Let's talk about Dave. Dave isn't a real person, but he's a very real archetype. He's 52 years old, he's been a long-haul truck driver for 30 years. It's not just a job for him, it's an identity. He knows the highways of America like the back of his hand. He knows the best diners, the sketchiest rest stops, and the exact spot in eastern Colorado where the radio stations switch from country music to something he doesn't recognize. His job paid for his house. It put his kids through school. It's hard work, lonely work, but it's honest work. And it's about to become extinct. Now Dave has been hearing about self-driving trucks for years. At first it sounded like a joke, something out of a bad sci-fi movie. Then it became a distant threat, something that was always 10 years away. But now it's not 10 years away. It's here. Companies are already running autonomous trucks on major freight routes with a safety driver for now, but everyone knows what the end game is. The safety driver is just a temporary measure, like a training wheel on a bike that's about to join the Tour de France. For the shipping company, the math is simple. A truck that can drive 24/7 without sleep, without bathroom breaks, and without a salary is a golden goose. For Dave, it's a pink slip. So what does Dave do? His entire professional life, his entire skill set, is built around operating a massive, complex piece of machinery that is about to become a museum piece. He can't just go and become a software engineer. Telling a 52-year-old trucker to learn to code is not a solution, it's an insult. It's a flippant, dismissive catchphrase that completely ignores the reality of his life. He has a mortgage to pay now. He has skills that were valuable yesterday and may be worthless tomorrow. The transition isn't just about learning a new trade, it's about grieving the loss of an old one, an identity he spent a lifetime building. This story is about to be repeated millions of times over. There are over 3.5 million professional truck drivers in the United States alone. It's one of the most common jobs in the country, especially for men without a college degree. When that job disappears, it's not just an economic disruption, it's a social cataclysm. We are staring down the barrel of a crisis that will affect millions of families and countless communities that depend on the trucking industry. And all of it is happening in the name of progress and efficiency. But for Dave, looking at his rig in the setting sun, it doesn't feel like progress. It feels like being left behind on the side of the road. Let's meet someone else. Let's call her Sarah. Sarah works in a call center for a large bank. For 8 hours a day, she puts on a headset and talks to people who are usually confused, angry, or both. She helps grandmothers reset their online banking passwords. She calms down people who have had their cards stolen. She explains overdraft fees for the 100th time with a practiced, patient tone. It's a repetitive, often thankless job, but Sarah is good at it. She has empathy. She can hear the panic in someone's voice and know just what to say to reassure them. She's a human shock absorber for the bank's frustrated customers. But Sarah's job is changing. A few years ago, the company introduced a new AI assistant to handle simple queries. At first, it was just a fancy automated menu, but now, it's getting smarter. The AI can now handle most password resets, balance inquiries, and transaction histories. It has a smooth, calming, computer-generated voice. It never gets tired, it never gets frustrated, and it works for pennies on the dollar compared to Sarah. Every month the AI gets better, and the number of calls that actually reach a human agent like Sarah gets smaller. She and her colleagues can feel the walls closing in. They are training their own replacements, one customer interaction at a time. The emotional toll of this slow-motion obsolescence is immense. Sarah lives with a constant low-grade anxiety. She sees the empty desks around her and wonders if hers will be next. Her performance is now measured against the flawless efficiency of the algorithm. If she takes too long on a call, a little red flag appears on her manager's dashboard. The human touch she provides, the empathy that can turn a negative experience into a positive one, is not something the system can easily measure. It's not a quantifiable metric. So, in the eyes of the algorithm, it doesn't exist. She is being judged, not on her humanity, but on her ability to act like a machine. This is the hidden story in millions of service jobs. As chatbots and voice assistants become more sophisticated, the human element is being systematically engineered out of customer service. The companies call it streamlining the customer journey. But for people like Sarah, it's a journey to the unemployment line. She's not a factory worker whose job can be done by a physical robot. She's an empathy worker whose job is being eaten by a piece of software. It's a quiet, invisible form of displacement, happening one automated phone call at a time. And it leaves people like Sarah feeling like ghosts in their own workplace, talking to customers who increasingly don't need them anymore. Now, it's not all doom and gloom. The tech evangelists are right about one thing: the AI revolution is creating new jobs, but we need to take a hard, honest look at what those new jobs actually are. Let's meet Maria. Maria used to have a steady job doing data entry for an insurance company. It wasn't exciting, but it was stable and had benefits. Then, her company adopted a new AI system that could scan documents and extract the relevant information automatically. Just like that, her entire department was made redundant. So, after a few months of searching, Maria found a new job. A job of the future. She's now a data labeler. So what does a data labeler do? Well, all that amazing AI we've been talking about needs to be trained, and it's trained on massive amounts of data that has been labeled by humans. Maria spends her day looking at thousands of images and drawing boxes around things. This is a car, this is a pedestrian, this is a stop sign. Or she listens to snippets of audio and transcribes what is being said. Or she reads short pieces of text and rates their emotional sentiment. She is, in essence, a tutor for the machine. She is teaching the algorithm how to see and understand the world. It's a crucial job. Without data labelers like Maria, there would be no self-driving cars, no voice assistants, no medical imaging AI. But here's the catch. This job of the future is often low-paid, precarious, and mind-numbingly repetitive. Maria is not an employee. She's a gig worker, paid per task through an online platform. She has no health insurance, no paid sick days, no retirement plan. The work is isolating and mentally draining. Imagine staring at a screen for 8 hours, clicking on traffic lights. It's the digital equivalent of an assembly line, but without the camaraderie of a factory floor. This is the hidden human workforce powering the AI revolution. A vast, global army of click workers performing the tedious tasks that the AI isn't smart enough to do yet. This is a critical part of the story that the tech companies don't like to talk about. They present their AI as a pure, self-contained intelligence, a product of brilliant code. They don't show you the legions of people like Maria, often in developing countries, working for a few dollars an hour to make that intelligence possible. So yes, a new job was created for Maria, but she traded a stable, full-time job with benefits for a precarious gig with no safety net. She went from being a data entry clerk to being a tiny, replaceable cog in a massive, global machine learning apparatus. This is the reality of many of the new jobs being created. They are the digital world's version of dull, dirty, and dangerous work. Let's zoom in on the emotional landscape of this new world. Beyond the financial stress of losing a job, there is a deeper, more personal anxiety that is starting to permeate our culture. It's the anxiety of obsolescence. It's the gnawing feeling that your skills, your knowledge, and your experience have a rapidly approaching expiration date. This isn't just affecting truckers and call center agents. It's hitting graphic designers, accountants, lawyers, and coders. It's the feeling of running a race against a machine that never gets tired and is constantly getting faster. It's a psychological burden that previous generations never had to carry in quite the same way. Think about a graphic designer who spent years mastering Adobe Photoshop, only to see AI image generators that can create stunning visuals in seconds. Or a paralegal who prided themselves on their ability to sift through thousands of documents for discovery, a task that an AI can now do in a matter of minutes. This creates a profound sense of professional vertigo. The ground is constantly shifting beneath your feet. The skills that made you valuable and gave you a sense of mastery are suddenly devalued. This forces people into a state of perpetual retraining, a frantic effort to learn the next new thing before the last new thing makes them irrelevant. It's exhausting. This anxiety also changes our relationship with work itself. It becomes harder to take pride in your craft when you know that an algorithm could potentially do it better, faster, and cheaper. It can lead to a sense of imposter syndrome on a societal scale. Are we all just temporary placeholders until a better piece of software comes along? This feeling of being replaceable, of being in a constant competition with a non-human entity, is corrosive to our mental health. It breeds insecurity and erodes the sense of dignity and purpose that meaningful work can provide. It's a heavy weight to carry into the office every morning. And this pressure is not just felt by individuals, it's being institutionalized. Companies are now looking for agile employees who can pivot and reskill on a dime. The expectation is that you will be a lifelong learner, constantly updating yourself like a piece of software. And while learning is a good thing, this framing puts all the pressure and all the responsibility on the individual worker. It's your fault if you become obsolete. You just didn't pivot hard enough. It completely absolves companies and society of any responsibility to manage this transition in a humane way. The emotional toll of this constant pressure is the invisible tax of the automation age. The impact of this technological shift isn't spread evenly across the map. It's creating a new geography of prosperity and decline. To understand this, let's imagine two towns. Let's call them Cloudville and Factory Town. Cloudville is a bustling tech hub. It's full of gleaming glass buildings, artisanal coffee shops, and electric scooter rentals. This is where the AI is designed, where the algorithms are written, and where the venture capital flows like water. The people who live here are software engineers, data scientists, and marketing executives. They have high-paying jobs, great benefits, and a sense of being at the center of the new economy. Property values are soaring and new restaurants open every week. Then there's Factory Town. This town was built around a large manufacturing plant that was, for decades, the lifeblood of the community. It provided steady, well-paying jobs for generations of residents. But a few years ago, the parent company invested heavily in automation. They built a new smart factory, run by a skeleton crew of technicians, most of whom were brought in from out of town. The old plant was shut down. The jobs disappeared. Now the main street of Factory Town is lined with shuttered storefronts. The young people who can leave for places like Cloudville. The people who stay are left with declining property values, a shrinking tax base, and a profound sense of being left behind. This isn't a hypothetical story, it's the reality playing out all over the country and all over the world. The jobs and wealth of the AI economy are being concentrated in a small number of superstar cities, while many other regions are being hollowed out. This geographical sorting creates deep social and political divides. The people in Cloudville and the people in Factory Town live in two different worlds. They have different economic realities, different cultural touchstones, and increasingly different political loyalties. The resentment of Factory Town towards the perceived elites of Cloudville becomes a powerful and destabilizing force in national politics. The core of the problem is that the benefits of automation are mobile, but the costs are stationary. The profits from the new smart factory in Factory Town don't stay in the community. They flow back to the shareholders and executives in Cloudville and other financial centers. But the social costs, the unemployment, the strained public services, the loss of community, are left right there in Factory Town for the local people to deal with. This is how technology, which is supposed to connect us, ends up tearing our social fabric apart, creating islands of extreme wealth in a sea of economic despair. So let's bring it all together. Dave the trucker, Sarah the call center agent, Maria the data labeler. These aren't just isolated anecdotes, they are faces of a massive systemic change. They represent the human cost of our relentless pursuit of efficiency. We are building a world that is incredibly optimized, streamlined, and productive. A world where goods are produced 24/7, where services are delivered instantly, and where every process is measured and managed for maximum output. From a purely economic or engineering perspective, it's a thing of beauty. It's a perfect system. But a perfect system can be a terrible place to live. The emotional toll of this transition is the part of the balance sheet that nobody wants to look at. It's the quiet anxiety of a parent wondering how they'll support their family when their job is gone. It's the humiliation of a skilled professional being managed by an unfeeling algorithm. It's the despair of a community watching its way of life wither and die. These are not bugs in the system, they are features of a system that prioritizes machine efficiency over human well-being. We are so focused on the technical challenges of building AI that we have forgotten to ask what kind of society we are building in the process. We have to understand that progress is not a neutral force of nature like gravity or the tides. It is the result of human choices. The way we are currently deploying AI and automation is a choice. We are choosing to prioritize corporate profits and efficiency above all else. Above job security, above worker dignity, above community stability. We are choosing to let the benefits flow to a select few and to let the costs fall on the most vulnerable. This is not the only way to do it. We could choose to manage this transition differently. We could choose to build a future where technology serves humanity, not the other way around. But to make that choice, we first have to be honest about the human cost. We have to stop talking about labor market disruptions and start talking about people's lives. We have to look past the impressive demos and the soaring stock prices and see the faces of the people who are paying the price for this new, automated world. The dark truth isn't just that robots are coming for our jobs, it's that we are letting them. And we are failing to account for the immense human suffering that our collective inaction is causing. The system may be getting more perfect, but our society is becoming more broken. Alright, let's talk about the elephant in the room, or rather, the 5 elephants in the room that own the room, built the room, and are currently renting the room back to us at a very high price. We've talked about what AI and automation are doing, but we haven't talked enough about is doing it. This entire technological revolution, this seismic shift in human society is being driven by a tiny handful of unimaginably wealthy and powerful corporations. Your Googles, your Amazons, your Metas, your Microsofts. These companies aren't just participants in the economy anymore. In many ways, the economy. They are becoming the new bedrock of our society, the private infrastructure on which our public lives are built. Think about it. These companies control the main gateways to information, the primary platforms for communication, the digital marketplaces where we shop, and the cloud servers where the world's data is stored. Now they are also building the foundational AI models that will power everything from our healthcare to our legal system. This is a staggering concentration of power, unlike anything we've seen before. It would be like if, in the 20th century, one company owned all the railroads, the telephone lines, the newspapers, and also ran the Federal Reserve. We would, hopefully, have seen that as a problem. Yet today, we seem to be sleepwalking into a future where a few CEOs in California have more influence over our lives than our own elected governments. The problem is that these companies are not benevolent public utilities. They are publicly traded corporations, legally obligated to maximize profit for their shareholders. Their primary goal is not to foster a healthy democracy, or promote human well-being, or solve inequality. Their primary goal is to make more money. And right now, the best way to make more money is to build and deploy AI as quickly as possible, to hoover up as much data as possible, and to automate as many human functions as possible. The ethical considerations, the societal impacts, the long-term consequences, those are at best a secondary concern. They are a problem for the PR department, not the engineering department. This creates a dangerous power imbalance. Our governments, which are supposed to represent our collective interests and put guardrails on corporate power, are completely outmatched. They are slow, technologically illiterate, and hopelessly behind the curve. By the time Congress holds a hearing about a new technology, that technology is already obsolete, and the tech companies have moved on to building 3 new things that are even more powerful and less understood. We are essentially letting a handful of unelected tech executives with their own specific worldview and financial incentives set the course for the future of humanity with little to no meaningful oversight. They are minding the store, and they've also decided to own the store and rewrite all the rules. Now you might think, I have free will. I make my own choices. An algorithm doesn't control me. And that's a lovely thought. It's also, I'm sorry to say, increasingly naive. The power of modern AI isn't just about automating jobs, It's about automating persuasion. The recommendation engines that power platforms like YouTube, TikTok, Netflix, and Amazon are not neutral tools designed to help you find what you want. They are sophisticated psychological machines designed to shape what you want. They are built to guide your behavior, to keep you scrolling, to keep you watching, to keep you buying. They give you the of choice while carefully curating the menu to lead you exactly where they want you to go. Let's take YouTube's recommendation algorithm as a prime example. Its goal is simple: maximize watch time. And what it has learned through analyzing billions of hours of human behavior is that one of the best ways to keep people watching is to show them progressively more extreme content. Someone starts by watching a video about libertarian economics, and the algorithm gently nudges them towards more radical anti-government conspiracy theories. Someone watches a video about healthy eating, and soon they're being recommended unproven and dangerous cures. It's a rabbit hole designed by a machine that doesn't know the difference between truth and lies, only the difference between a video you click on and a video you don't. This isn't a hypothetical. It has been repeatedly shown to be a major driver of radicalization and misinformation worldwide. This extends far beyond just videos. The same mechanisms are at play in what news you see, what products you are shown, and even what potential romantic partners you encounter on dating apps. Your entire digital reality is being personalized, filtered, and subtly manipulated. We are all living in our own bespoke filter bubbles, where our existing beliefs are constantly reinforced and we are shielded from opposing viewpoints. This is catastrophic for a society that needs to find common ground. How can we have a national conversation about complex issues like climate change or immigration when we are all being fed a completely different set of facts tailored to our pre-existing biases by a machine whose only goal is to keep our eyeballs glued to a screen? The most insidious part of this is how invisible it is. You don't feel like you're being manipulated. You feel like you're just discovering cool stuff that you're interested in. The algorithm is so good at its job that it feels like an extension of your own mind. It creates a feedback loop. You click on something, the algorithm shows you more of it, which makes you believe it's more important, so you click on it more. We are outsourcing our curiosity to a system that is not optimized for our growth or our education, but for our predictable, monetizable engagement. The choice is not whether to watch the next video. The real choice about what information ecosystem we want to live in was made for us a long time ago. So, we've established that AI systems have immense power. They can recommend a prison sentence, deny you a loan, or filter you out of a job application process. Now, here's a terrifying follow-up question. What happens when we ask the AI it made that decision, and the answer is, we have no idea? Welcome to the black box problem. Many of the most advanced AI systems, particularly deep learning neural networks, are so complex that even the engineers who build them don't fully understand their internal logic. The AI learns by identifying patterns in data, but the patterns it finds can be so intricate and counterintuitive that they are effectively incomprehensible to the human mind. This is a massive ethical and legal problem. Imagine you apply for a mortgage and you are denied. The bank tells you the decision was made by their AI model. You ask why you were denied, they can't tell you. They can only say that the algorithm processed your data and the output was no. Was it because of your zip code, your age, the fact that you once bought a lot of Nickelback albums on iTunes, which the AI has correlated with being a credit risk? You have no way of knowing and therefore no way to appeal the decision or correct a potential error. We are building systems of judgment with no accountability, no transparency, and no recourse. It is the bureaucratic nightmare of computers says no on a terrifying society-wide scale. This black box issue becomes a matter of life and death in fields like medicine. An AI might recommend a certain treatment plan for a cancer patient, and all the data shows that its recommendations are, on average, more successful than human doctors. But if a doctor asks the AI to explain its reasoning for a specific unusual case, it can't. It can't articulate the why. So what does the doctor do? Do they trust the black box, even if it goes against their own experience and intuition? Who is liable if something goes wrong? The doctor, the hospital, or the software company? We are rushing to deploy these systems without having any good answers to these fundamental questions of responsibility and trust. The black box problem undermines the very foundations of due process and fairness. A just system is one where decisions can be explained and challenged. If you are accused of a crime, you have the right to face your accuser and question the evidence against you. But how do you cross-examine an algorithm? How do you find the bias in a system whose workings are opaque even to its creators? We are building a world where the most important decisions about our lives are made by inscrutable digital oracles, and when we ask them for an explanation, all we get back is a dial tone. That's not just a technical problem, it's a profound threat to a free and fair society. Okay, if you thought corporate surveillance and black box justice were bad, I'd like to introduce you to their much scarier cousin-lethal autonomous weapons. We're talking about AI-powered drones, tanks, and robots that can independently search for, identify, and kill human targets without direct human control. This is not science fiction, this is the next frontier in military technology, and there is a full-blown global arms race underway right now to develop it. If you think giving an AI the power to approve a mortgage is a bad idea, just wait until we give it the power to launch a Hellfire missile. This is, without exaggeration, one of the most dangerous technological developments in human history. The military argument for these weapons is, as always, couched in the language of efficiency and safety. They claim that an AI will be a more ethical warrior. It won't get scared, it won't get angry, it won't seek revenge, it will follow the rules of engagement perfectly, reducing civilian casualties. This is a dangerously naive fantasy. It assumes a level of perfection in technology that simply does not exist. We've already discussed how AI is riddled with biases and is terrible at dealing with unexpected situations. Now imagine a facial recognition error not on a social media tag, but on a drone's targeting system. Imagine a swarm of killer drones misidentifying a school bus as a military convoy. The potential for catastrophic failure is staggering. The development of these weapons will fundamentally change the nature of war and global stability. It dramatically lowers the threshold for going to war. When a country can send machines to fight instead of its own citizens, the political cost of conflict plummets. It makes war feel like a video game. Furthermore, these weapons are likely to proliferate. Once the technology exists, it will spread to smaller countries, to rogue states, and to terrorist organizations. Imagine a terrorist group unleashing a swarm of thousands of small explosive drones in a crowded city. This technology represents a third revolution in warfare after gunpowder and nuclear weapons, and we are stumbling into it with our eyes wide shut. There is a growing movement of AI researchers, roboticists, and ethicists who are screaming from the rooftops that we need an international treaty to ban lethal autonomous weapons, just as we have banned chemical and biological weapons. But progress is slow, because the major military powers see a strategic advantage in developing them first. This is a moral line we should never cross. The decision to take a human life is one of the most profound and terrible decisions a person can make, and it must remain a human decision. Once we delegate that authority to a machine, we have abdicated our most basic moral responsibility. We are opening a Pandora's box from which we may never recover. So, after all this, the job loss, the surveillance, the power imbalances, the killer robots, we arrive at the biggest, most philosophical question of all. In a world where machines are stronger, faster, and increasingly smarter than we are, what is the purpose of a human being? For centuries, our identity and our sense of purpose have been deeply intertwined with our work. We are what we do. A farmer, a teacher, a carpenter, a doctor. But what happens when most of that work can be done better by an algorithm? What are we for? This is not just an economic question, it's an existential one. We are rapidly approaching a future that we have not psychologically prepared for. On one hand, there is the utopian vision. Freed from the burden of labor, humanity could enter a new golden age. We could devote our lives to creativity, to community, to exploration, to learning, to love. We could spend our days writing poetry, caring for our loved ones, and finally learning to play the ukulele. This is the promise that automation will liberate us to be more fully human, and it is a beautiful, compelling promise, but it relies on a massive assumption that we will build a society that allows for this. A society with universal basic income, strong social safety nets, and a culture that values human activity outside of paid employment. We are currently building the exact opposite of that society. The more likely dystopian path is a world starkly divided into two classes. There will be the small god class that owns and controls the AI and whose lives are full of purpose and meaning as they shape the world. And then, there will be the useless class, the vast majority of humanity who have no economic value, and are kept placated and managed by the system. In this world, people would be stripped of their agency and their sense of purpose. They might be kept alive with basic sustenance and distracted with immersive virtual realities, but their lives would be fundamentally meaningless. This is the dark truth at the heart of it all. The risk is not just unemployment, but a kind of spiritual obsolescence. This forces us to confront what we truly value. Is our worth as human beings really tied to our economic productivity? Or does it lie somewhere deeper? Does it lie in our capacity for empathy, for compassion, for creativity, for moral reasoning? These are the very qualities that machines lack. Perhaps the true purpose of the AI revolution is to hold up a mirror and force us to rediscover what is uniquely human. Maybe our purpose in an automated world is to be aggressively, defiantly, and gloriously human, to focus on the things that machines can't do, to care for one another, to build strong communities, to create art that moves the soul, and to ask the big questions. The technology is forcing us to choose what kind of future we want, and in doing so, it's forcing us to decide what it means to be human. Alright, so after all that, you might be feeling a little bit down. You might be curled up in a ball, clutching a family photo, and, eyeing your toaster with deep suspicion. And honestly, that's a perfectly reasonable reaction. We've journeyed through the shiny promises of an AI utopia, only to find the fine print is a horror story. We've seen how this technology, while creating genuine miracles in medicine and science, is also a voracious job eater, an algorithmic overlord, and, honestly, the greatest inequality-generating machine in human history. It's a funhouse mirror that reflects our own biases back at us, but with the authority of a computer. It's a party we were all invited to, where the price of admission is our privacy, and the hosts are getting unimaginably rich. We've met Dave the trucker, staring at the self-driving rig that's coming for his livelihood. We've sat with Sarah in her emptying call center, feeling the cold breath of a chatbot on her neck. We've seen the unchecked power of a handful of tech giants who are redesigning our world with less oversight than a local zoning board. We've looked into the black box and found nothing but an echo. And just for good measure, we threw in a casual chat about killer robots because hey, why not end on a high note? It's a cheerful story, isn't it? It feels like we are strapped into a very sleek, very fast car that is accelerating towards a cliff, and the GPS just cheerfully announced, in 200 feet, your destination is on the left. So the logical conclusion here seems to be, yes, we're all completely and utterly screwed. Time to pack it in, start a barter economy based on decorative gourds, and hope the robots take pity on us. It's easy to feel powerless, to feel like this is all just too big, too technical, and moving too fast for any of us to do anything about it. The narrative that the tech companies sell us is one of inevitability. They talk about the march of technology as if it's a law of physics, a force of nature that cannot be questioned or redirected. They want you to think that this future is already written, and your only job is to adapt or get out of the way. But here's the thing, that is a lie. It is the most dangerous and self-serving lie of the entire digital age. The future is not inevitable. Technology is not a tidal wave, it's a river, and rivers can be dammed, channeled, and redirected. We, as a society, have the ability to steer this. The direction AI and automation take is not a technical question, it's a political one. It's a question of values. The feeling of powerlessness is not an accident, it is a carefully cultivated feature of the system, designed to make you a passive consumer of the future they've built for you. And the first step in fighting back is to realize that you are not powerless. The ending to this story has not been written yet. Okay, so if we're not completely screwed, what do we actually do? It's all well and good to say let's fight back, but how do you fight an algorithm? You can't exactly punch a cloud server. Well, the answer is that we need to act on multiple levels, as individuals, as communities, and as a society. It starts with you. As an individual, you can start by being less of a passive consumer and more of a critical user of technology. Ask questions, read the privacy policies, or at least the summaries of them. Support companies and news organizations that are transparent and respect your data. Make conscious choices about which apps you use and how you use them. It's like voting with your clicks, and it sends a message. On a community level, we need to start talking about this, loudly. This topic needs to move out of the tech blogs and onto the front page. Talk to your friends, your family, your co-workers. We need to build a broad-based public understanding of what's at stake. We need to support local organizations, unions and activist groups that are fighting for worker protections, digital rights, and algorithmic transparency. We need to demand that our local schools teach digital literacy, not just how to use an iPad, but how to critically analyze the information that comes out of it. We need to build a culture of skepticism and engagement to counter the culture of blind acceptance. We have to make this a kitchen table issue because it already is, But the most important fight is the political one. We need to demand that our so-called leaders wake up, drink some coffee, and start doing their jobs. This means regulation. Yes, I said the scary R word. We need strong, smart regulations to rein in the power of big tech. We need robust data privacy laws that give individuals control over their own information. We need laws that demand transparency and explainability for any AI used in critical decisions like hiring or criminal justice. If a company can't explain how its black box works, it shouldn't be allowed to use it on human beings. It's that simple. We need to update our labor laws to protect gig workers and provide a real safety net for those displaced by automation. And this isn't an anti-technology or anti-progress stance. It's the opposite. Good regulation fosters healthy innovation. Seatbelts didn't kill the car industry, they made people feel safe enough to buy cars. We need the digital equivalent of seatbelts, airbags, and traffic laws for the age of AI. This will require political courage because the tech lobby is incredibly powerful, but politicians respond to one thing more than money, and that's votes. If enough of us make it clear that this is a priority, that we will not accept a future where our lives are dictated by unaccountable corporations and their inscrutable algorithms, they will have no choice but to listen. It's time to grab the steering wheel of this car before it drives. Ultimately, we are standing at a massive fork in the road. The choices we make in the next few years will echo for generations. Down one path is the future that we are currently heading towards by default. It's the path of least resistance, the one paved by corporate interests and our own collective apathy. This is the future of hyper-capitalism on steroids, a world of staggering inequality, where a tiny, tech-savvy elite lives in unimaginable comfort, while the vast majority of people are either managed by algorithms in precarious jobs or deemed economically useless and sustained by digital bread and circuses. It's a world of pervasive surveillance, where our every move is monitored and our behavior is subtly shaped for profit. In this future, human autonomy is a quaint memory. Our choices are guided by personalized recommendation engines that know us better than we know ourselves. Our society is fragmented into filter bubbles, unable to agree on a shared reality, making democracy impossible. Our legal and social systems are run by biased black box algorithms that dispense judgment without reason or recourse. And lurking in the background is the constant threat of autonomous weapons that could unleash unimaginable destruction. It is a future optimized for efficiency, productivity, and control. It is a world that runs like a perfect machine. But it is a world with very little room for human messiness, human dignity, or the human spirit. But there is another path. It's a harder path to walk, one that requires effort, courage, and a shared vision. This is the path where we choose to master our technology instead of letting it master us. It's a future where AI and automation are deployed not just to maximize profits, but to solve real human problems, to fight climate change, to cure disease, to eliminate poverty, and to reduce human drudgery. In this future, the incredible productivity gains from automation are shared broadly, perhaps through a universal basic income, a shorter work week, or massive public investment in education, healthcare, and the arts. It's a future where technology serves human values, not the other way around. On this path, we build a world with strong digital rights, where privacy is a fundamental human right and corporate surveillance is strictly forbidden. We demand transparency and accountability from our algorithms, ensuring they are fair, unbiased, and serve the public good. We value and invest in the skills that make us uniquely human: creativity, critical thinking, emotional intelligence, and empathy. We use technology to connect us, to foster understanding, and to strengthen democracy, not to divide and manipulate us. This future is not a techno-utopian fantasy. It is a real, achievable possibility, but it will not happen on its own. It is a future we have to choose, a future we have to build. So here we are. At the end of it all, the dark truth of AI and automation isn't really about the technology at all. It's not about killer robots or sentient supercomputers. The dark truth is about us. It's about our choices, our values, and our willingness to fight for the future we want. The machines are not the problem. The problem is our own greed, our own apathy, and our own short-sightedness. We are the ones building this world. We are the ones clicking agree on the terms and conditions without reading them. We are the ones allowing a handful of billionaires to become the architects of our collective destiny. The technology is just a mirror, and right now it's showing us a reflection that is deeply, deeply unflattering. This is a moment of profound moral clarity. We are being forced to decide what we stand for. Do we value efficiency more than we value people? Do we value convenience more than we value our privacy and our freedom? Do we value corporate profits more than we value a stable, fair, and democratic society? Because right now, our actions are answering yes to all of those questions. We have to start answering no. We have to consciously and deliberately choose a different set of values. We have to choose humanity. We have to choose dignity. We have to choose community. We have to choose to be the masters of our own creation. The challenge is immense. The forces pushing us down the default path are powerful and well-funded, and it's so much easier to be cynical, to declare that it's all hopeless and go back to scrolling through cat videos. But cynicism is just another word for surrender. And we are not a species that surrenders. We are a species that adapts, that creates, that argues, that dreams, and that builds better worlds. We have faced existential challenges before, and we have overcome them by coming together and making brave choices. This is our moment. This is our test. The robots aren't holding a gun to our head. The choice is still ours. So let's get to work. Let's get informed. Let's get organized. Let's demand better. Let's build a future where technology is a tool for human liberation, not a cage. Let's build a future that our children and grandchildren will thank us for, not one they will have to escape from. The hour is late, and the stakes have never been higher. The dark truth of AI is that it holds the potential for both paradise and oblivion. Which one we get is not up to the machines. It's up to us, and that is the last, most human choice we have left to make.